Matters, the RF and Microwave Update. I'm Pat Hindle, and I'm here with my co-host Gary Lerude. In this episode, we thought we'd talk about the December Industrial Scientific Medical Applications issue.
Right.
And the cover story is a very good technical piece by Dr. Stefan Hühl of Rohde & Schwarz, and he talks about automotive radar sensors and the interference issues that we'll be seeing with autonomous vehicles. So it's a very timely article. He talks about the various types of interference and then how you can test and evaluate them with the test and measurement setups. So a very good article that I think we'll be hearing a lot of next year.
Right. We also have on the medical theme an article by NXP that talks about RF and microwave applications in medical situations. So they talk about diathermy, ablation, and skin rejuvenation. Three areas that I had not really heard about.
I could use that last one.
That's right. And it's a very interesting article, and the authors Frank Nichols and Jose Fernandez Villaseñor. The latter one is a medical doctor, so it's got a lot of interesting information in it. And then we have a special report from Kevin Gallagher at Corvo talking about some of the trends in mobile Wi-Fi. So we're starting to see the adoption of 2x2 MIMO in the mobile handset. And Kevin talks about some of those trends related to sharing antennas with, say, between LTE and Wi-Fi and what that does to the filtering requirements in the phone. So a couple of very interesting articles there.
Yeah, and great. I looked at the MVP for December as IDT's variable gain amplifiers for wireless infrastructure. And they have three different models in various frequency bands from 700 megahertz to almost 3 gigahertz. And a unique feature of these amplifiers is their constant linearity amplifier that extends the output IP3 and P1 dB performance over a wider range of input and output power. So they're doing very good in that area, kind of improving on VGAs that have been around for years. How about the other products?
Well, we have two product features. We have Microwave Vision Group, which has a new software release that does simulation of human exposure to electromagnetic radiation. This is important because a lot of, when you're putting in infrastructure antennas, you have to certify to certain levels of human exposure. And so with the software, you can actually simulate that. And then we have a high voltage, high current output waveform amplifier that can be used in a lot of different test situations where 50 ohm may not be the impedance that you're driving, for example. So this particular amplifier will go up to 65 volts and also can provide 6 amps of output. So a pretty powerful amplifier. Then we also have three tech briefs. We have a 24 gigahertz transceiver that could be used for automotive radar or other industrial sensor applications. We have an interesting microwave power module that takes a solid state driver, combines it with a TWT and a power supply. This will provide, for example, 200 watts from 6.5 to 18 gigahertz. So for applications there, that's by L3 Electron Devices. And then from K&L Microwave, a really interesting box that is a filter that you can tune the center frequency, you can tune the bandwidth.
Right.
You can go all the way from 700 megahertz to 6 gigahertz, so you can cover all the LTE and Wi-Fi frequency bands in one box. So it's great for testing.
Yeah, they spent quite a bit of effort on that. I've seen that at the last few shows, so it's great to have that in print.
Right.
So turning to news, I thought we would end the year as we started with mergers and acquisitions,
Yes,
of course.
indeed.
Teledyne announced that they will be acquiring E2V for about 620 million pounds, and I wasn't really sure how these two companies would fit together, but the more I read, they sound very complementary. They have a lot of other businesses outside of RF and microwave, but within RF and microwave, Teledyne has a lot of solid state and other vacuum tube sources that go in the defense industry, while E2V does a lot of magnetrons for that medical industry. So they're different types of devices in different industries, so that'll be complementary in nature. And then on the other side of businesses, E2V has a lot of image sensing technology, and Teledyne has X-ray sensing technology, so they can bring more product portfolio to these verticals and extend their market reach. So I think it could be a good merger.
Yeah, I think so. We don't hear too much about E2V because they're a UK company,
Right.
But they do have a pretty significant US presence as well.
How about you for news?
So I continue to be impressed and a little bit amazed at the acceleration of automotive technology with self-driving cars and so forth. And the latest example of that is the U.S. Department of Transportation just released a proposed notice of rulemaking that will require that vehicle-to-vehicle technology be implemented on all basically passenger cars, and it'll be mandated within the next few years. This will use the DSRC frequency band around 5.9 gigahertz, and it will allow cars to communicate with each other, and the Department of Transportation says it will basically prevent hundreds of thousands of collisions between cars a year and probably save 1,000 lives a year.
Wow.
So pretty impressive. So it's a proposed rule, so there's 90 days for people to comment on it, and their anticipated timing is that it will go into effect in 2019 with the implementation from 2021 to 2023. So by 2023, all new light vehicles will have to have this installed if it goes forward.
Yeah, so the early 2020s are going to be big. 5G,
Right.
autonomous vehicles, a lot of technology going on in the wireless area.
Right, very interesting. So we haven't seen you around the office too much lately. You've been on the road.
Yeah, I spent a couple weeks in Washington, consecutive weeks in DC, and there was first the Association of Old Crows event, and then that was followed by IEEE Globecom the following week. And at AOC, the one thing that caught my attention were the drone detection and location systems. I think this is a big area of growth for next year, and both Keysight and Rohde & Schwartz were featuring demos there. And they can detect the signal, they can locate it, they can jam it before it takes off, they can jam it after it takes off, they can actually tap off of the video feed and see what the drone is seeing.
Interesting.
And they can even identify the exact kind of drone by its control signal. So these have become very sophisticated, and I think it's a very active area. And then IEEE Globecom, it's all about 5G. All the experts from around the world, wireless carriers, device test and measurement, they were all there. And a few trends that I noticed is network slicing seems to be really the preferred way that the 5G networks will be able to accommodate these various types of applications, from
Right.
the low power, low data rate IoT devices to the high capacity, low latency, virtual reality or remote medical applications. So each application will just pick the slices of the network that it needs to utilize to achieve its performance parameters. And I think it's pretty much kind of a industry trend that everybody will be using sub 6 gigahertz for the first 5G implementations early. Some of the trials are going on next year, and even some trials have gone on already. And I think one frequency range I didn't know was coming to be available worldwide is 3.5 gigahertz is being
Right.
used quite a bit. There's spectrum available in most countries, but not the US. It's the citizens broadband radio area. So the FCC is already talking about some spectrum sharing rules that could apply that maybe alleviate that discrepancy. And then in the millimeter wave, there certainly is a lot of activity there. As we discussed in a couple episodes ago, 28 gigahertz and 39 gigahertz seem to
Right.
be the most active areas. I'm sure those deployments will be happening initially in fixed wireless and
Right.
backhaul applications. Very soon, in the next year or two, start deploying 5G in that way, and then migrate to the handset. It'll be well after 2020, I think, before it makes its way into the handset.
Yeah, we're hearing certainly Verizon and probably AT&T will do some 28 gigahertz trials next year, 2017.
Yeah, so that's exciting times.
Yeah. Well, I think we're kind of wrapping up this year. 2016 is about done, and we're actually starting to think about 2017. As you know, we're finishing up the January 2017 issue, which will be the topic of our next episode. We want to thank everybody for watching Frequency Matters throughout the year. I'd like to actually give a shout out to your daughter who's trying to make us go viral. So
Stonehill College.
So hopefully we'll get even more viewers as we go through the year. And we want to thank our sponsor, our loyal sponsor, Mini Circuits, for making this program possible. You can find out all about Mini Circuits products at their website. Check it out at www.minicircuits.com. Thanks again, and Happy New Year.
Happy holidays.